Hi, my name's Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about Doctor Who, the Ark. And I'd like to go through this story from season 3 of the classic series starring William Hartnell, exploring the structure and its themes. Now, this is one of the few stories from season 3 surviving in its entirety. So thank goodness that it survives. I guess if you could sum the story up, it's about the human race who need to move because the Earth is going to be destroyed. They're on this long voyage, and first of all they're threatened with extinction by the common cold, and then they're threatened by extinction by another alien race. So in episode 1, the Doctor, Stephen and Dodo dematerialise into what seems like a jungle. There are elephants, birds, all kinds of creatures around, and it's lush vegetation. Indeed, Dodo thinks she's in London Zoo. But then they notice the steel sky, and I think that's the title of the episode, The Steel Sky. They realise they're on board some kind of spaceship. And it turns out they're on what they call the Ark, as in Noah's Ark. It's a ship that is carrying the whole human population on a voyage to this new planet called Refuses 2. Most of humanity is stored in these kind of microfilm in these banks. So the Doctor, Stephen and Dodo realise what's going on, but then Dodo starts sniffling, and she appears to have a cold. She passes on this cold to one of the human elders. They're called the Guardians, the main guys in control of the Ark, and then a monoid. The monoids are these one-eyed creatures who serve the humans, and they don't speak. They're very much a presence in the background. So one of the monoids dies because of this cold, which Dodo has brought onto the ship. Then in episode 2, this epidemic spreads. More and more people are becoming ill with the common cold. It seems they're just not used to this virus, so their immunity is 0. And then Stephen appears to get the cold as well, and he starts becoming feverish. The Guardians want to punish the Doctor, Stephen and Dodo because of bringing this virus on board. So they're going to be tried in a court, and they could be miniaturised and killed. So they need to defend themselves in court. But then Stephen passes out while he's being questioned, and then the Doctor manages to persuade him that he can help. And the Doctor does. He manages to find a cure for this. He immunises everybody, so the whole human race is saved, for the time being at least anyway, and the Doctor, Stephen, Dodo are free to leave. But then they come back again, and it's 700 years later. There's no sign of the Guardians. What's going on? While they were there before, they noticed the humans building a statue, and this big statue, presumably of one of, a Guardian, one of them. But 700 years later, it turns out this statue has now got a monoid head. And in episode 3, we find out the monoids are now in control. They were the servants before, remember, but now the tables have turned. The humans, the remaining humans, because many of them have been wiped out by another wave of the cold, they're basically terrorised and kept as slaves by the monoids. And the monoids have developed this technology where they can speak, and they're given numbers. Number 1 is in charge. Many of the humans locked up in what's called the security kitchen, where they're making food. The Doctor realises what's going on, and he manages to get to Refuses 2, this planet the Ark is about to arrive at, and he realises that the inhabitants are these invisible beings. They're called the Refusians. And it turns out the monoids want to colonise this planet themselves, and they want to destroy the humans on the Ark. And they've planted a massive bomb in the head of this monoid statue. In the last episode, the monoids are eventually defeated. The Refusians are a noble race. They welcome the humans as long as they're peaceful, but they don't welcome the monoids and their warlike attitude. But the monoids start fighting in between themselves. They start killing each other. And on board the ship, with the help of the Refusians, the bomb is discovered. The humans, with the help of Stephen, manage to jettison this big statue which explodes in space. Humanity is saved. They arrive on Refusis 2 and they are set to live out the rest of their days with all the potential of the future generation of the human race on Refusis 2 with the Refusians. So what are we to make of the Ark? Well, it's a very enjoyable story in two clear parts. The first two episodes where Dodo basically almost wipes out the human race because she's got a cold. Dodo hasn't got much of a contribution to the Doctor Who universe, but she's possibly got the potentially the most drastic one, almost wiping out humanity. And then there's the second part of the story where everything's 700 years in the future and the monoids are defeated. So it's an enjoyable story. The monoids have to be one of the funniest Doctor Who villains ever. Their eye, they've got this eye in the middle of their head, which is quite expressive actually. There seems to be a lot of movement, and presumably they're in the actor's mouth, I don't know. But they're very comical as well. There's some really funny dialogue, you know. At one point Dodo kind of uncovers what they're up to, and one of them's like, "No, it wasn't me. What are you talking about?" He sounds like really kind of pathetic as he tries to squirm his way out of it. And they've kind of got this hand movement thing, particularly number one. It's almost like this kind of Nazi hand, you know, Hitler, Goebbels kind of hand movements going on while they're communicating. And of course, having something like the security kitchen, that is just so weird. Such a funny line. I think one of the monoids says, send them to the security kitchen. So they're a laughably comic creation, the monoids. Although it has to be said, they are determined to commit genocide, so they're not completely funny, I guess, but they're a memorable villain. The Refusians are hilarious because they're just not there, and it must have been a great cost-cutting exercise to have another race in the show which is actually visible. You do see these odd kind of indentations in chairs as they sit down, and doors move by themselves, etc., which is very funny. But yeah, I think the Ark is kind of epitomises Doctor Who at its quirkiest in a way, and it's most kind of B-movie like. You know, it's a strong story, you know, based on Noah's Ark, of course, and, you know, used many other science fiction stories of the human race travelling through the cosmos looking for a new land, escaping the destruction of Earth. And the monoid statue, I think, is a really gripping ending to episode 2. So yeah, the Ark is a charming Doctor Who story, very much Doctor Who at its best in a rather kitschy and camp way. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. There's just a brief slideshow about the structure and the themes after this. Bye.